Hello, are you there? It's good to see you. Sorry I'm late. I don't have much of an excuse. Just the usual crappy stuff. It's a beautiful day here. I hope it's nice wherever you are. I'm actually look. I mean, this is like I'm drinking a alcohol-free beer. Cheers. But you didn't pay to watch me drink beer. Or maybe you did. Or maybe you didn't pay. But you didn't come here to watch me drink beer. Almost poetry. Let me just turn my phone off. I just pocket dialed Bob a second ago. That was another thing that added to my lateness. So I hope you're doing good, wherever you are. Yeah, look, I've got a new window. I mean, it's the same view, but it's even better than it was before. Let me show you the view. Because it's just one big window. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of my window. And this is where I sit. This is where I sit and write and think and be and do. And that is Glasgow. That is the Glasgow Spring, and that is happening as we speak. 1 second at a time. That is live. That is live Glasgow. So yeah, it's beautiful. I know sometimes I wished our mood could mimic the great weather when it comes in, but it doesn't always happen like that. And it's weird. Sometimes it happens the other way. Sometimes you're kind of bummed out, and you kind of want the sun to go away, just so that you can sort of do slow indoor stuff that matches your sort of crappy mood. And then of course a lot of you will have to work through the good weather. I'm very lucky. I have a job. Well, I mean, sort of job, but it allows me. I went to the seaside this morning. And I put my foot in a rock pool down at Saltcoats, and I just sit there and think about music and think, wouldn't it be a great thing if I could actually get on with the writing and recording of these songs. They're not going to record themselves, but I sat there and enjoyed. I love the sea. I love just sitting beside the sea. I know it's a cliche, but on a day like this, so I'm not going to rub it in, because I know like a lot of you have had to work and had chores and tasks and running about after other people, and that is a godly thing. You will be blessed for it. If you've got other people in your thoughts and actions and deeds, then that's such great karma. I don't care what religion, what you believe in, karma, blessings, it's just good stuff. You will get it back with interest if you are being kind to others and doing stuff for others. And in that regard, I've had quite a low I've had quite a low interest day. I'm not really going to get a lot of interest back on the way I've spent my day today just taking myself down to the shore and sitting there and looking at it. I was very thankful when I was there, though. Um, Vicky says enjoying the sea is priority. Well, it is if you can, you know, if you can get there, Vicky. Nottingham. Nottingham's quite far from the sea. Pippa says it's not been quite as sunny in Birmingham. No, and you're quite far from the sea as well. I am a little bit sorry for you, landlocked. I wonder if we could work out who is the most landlocked person on the class today. Anybody from Nebraska? Anybody from Kazakhstan? On the what's the country? What's the country that is not only landlocked but is surrounded by landlocked countries? There's a there's a special there's a special Bell and Sebastian prize for the person who can tell me that without looking it up. Bridget's in Iowa. Okay, you're winning. You're definitely winning, Iowa. Um, right next door to Nebraska. Jillian's in Canada. Yeah, but where about in Canada are you, Jillian? Like if you're in Vancouver, if you're in Montreal, St. Lawrence Seaway, that kind of counts as a sea. Hudson Bay counts as a sea. Lakes are the Great Lakes. They're lakes. If you're on the lakes, then you're still landlocked. You're lake locked, landlocked. Um. Okay. Well, you can tell. Jess is in Manitoba. That's pretty. I'll have to do a little. I'll have to get my compass out later to compare. You're not in You're Cheeky Monkey. You're not in Uzbekistan. Is that your answer? That's the landlocked country within it. It is one of the stands. I think it's one of the stands that is landlocked within the landlocked countries. Kay's in Toronto. Okay, you're on the lake. You're lake locked. Um, yeah, landlocked by landlocked countries. Okay, cheeky monkey. Well, if you got Uzbekistan without looking it up online, then you will get a prize. I don't know what that prize is, but we'll muster you up something. Um, oh, sorry, Vicky. Nottingham's your maiden name, so maybe you're not. Maybe you're actually close to the shore after all. Cheeky Monkey's in Spain. Vicky's in Nottingham. Derbyshire. Well, there you go. Derbyshire's just is almost as landlocked as Nottingham, if not more, which is quite far from the sea. Okay. Well, listen, I hope that I hope I haven't made you conscious of how far from the sea you are today. I hope I'm not making you nervous. I hope maybe that's a condition. Feeling very landlocked. But it's not like I had a glamorous day today. I went into Morrison's, which is a supermarket. I went to use the toilet in Morrison's, and I had to ask the lady where the toilet was, and she looked at me very suspiciously. She looked at me, and this is not just paranoia. She looked at me like I was a drug addict and I was going into the toilets to do something with drugs. And I felt a bit, funny at that moment, not glamorous. And I was probably dressed slightly inappropriately, kind of scruffy, and I hadn't bought anything, so that made me look more like somebody who really really needed to take drugs right at that minute. But and it's funny because while I was in the cubicle, not doing drugs, Band on the Run by Wings came on, and I think the last time I heard that song or thought about that song was many years ago, and it was like an opposite glamour situation because actually the last time I heard it or was aware of that song, I was in a slightly glamorous situation, and I kind of thought to myself, what happened? What's happened in 10 years? Like 10 years ago, I was in Los Angeles, and I was staying in a kind of hip hotel, quite hip for me anyway. I didn't. They just put me up there. I was staying in a hip hotel and I was doing my business. I was there, to do some music, and I came back to the hotel one night, and very rarely for me, I wandered through to the bar because they were playing good music, and there was somebody DJing, and I was just in that kind of just finished work. I'm in LA. I might even have a drink here. I might even do the LA thing, and sit in the lobby in the bar, because it was a very cool place. And I went up to the woman who was DJing, and because I was in a Wings state of mind, and I said, "Look, can you play Band on the Run by Wings?" And she looked at me, and she thought for a second, and she says, "I left my wings at home." And I don't know whether she meant like she meant her left her wings at home, or whether she left all her Wings records at home. But she didn't have Band on the Run. She couldn't play it for me. And then, when I looked at her again, she kind of looked familiar. And when you're in Hollywood, you're kind of like, you're in a store, or you're kind of like, do I know that person? Oh no, because they're in a movie or they're on the TV or something. I think it was Kirsten Dunst who was DJing. It was Kirsten Dunst that I asked, have can you play Band on the Run by Wings? But she left her wings at home. So that was, yeah, that was a little snapshot, a little glamorous happening, 10 or 15 years ago, and here's me in a Morrison's toilet cubicle, sort of being accused of taking drugs. How the mighty fall. But I'm okay. I don't feel fallen. I feel okay today. I probably feel as okay today as I did 15 years ago. I mean, I felt pretty cool. That was a nice moment. But in amongst that stuff, you might think that the glamorous life of an indie rocker in Hollywood is all just smiles and everything. But I probably was like, I hadn't had enough sleep, was feeling my ME, was working too hard maybe, or missing my family. It just doesn't go that that happiness is a given. It's never a given. I mean, it's hard to look for happiness. It's hard to grasp at. I don't think you should grasp after. I don't think you should chase after happiness. Everybody wants to be happy, and that is a noble idea, and it's a noble pursuit. Just don't chase too hard, because it's a slippy bugger. Slippy bugger. In all my years, you see my beard's growing white. I got a little bit of wisdom now. My beard is white, and just don't rugby tackle the happiness. It's not gonna be happy. Don't rugby tackle the happiness. It just it's not gonna come to you. It's not gonna make you any happier. It's gonna sneak up on you. That's what that happiness is gonna do. It's gonna sneak up on you in a quiet moment, and then you will be like, yes, this is what I was waiting for. This is what I'm waiting for all my life. I recognize this feeling. This feeling is happy. I hope that's not making you sad, as if to say, oh, so it's all drudgery until we get a still small voice whispering in our ear. But you know, I've heard of people that are content. That there are some people who are largely speaking content and peaceful, and they do it without having to try too much. They get up in the morning, they go about their business, and they're largely speaking they're pretty happy, and we love them, and we look up to them. And we're not really not jealous of them, but it's great. It's an example. They're leading by example. They're not gloating. They're not trying to look down on you for your for your tardiness or your slight sadness. They're just getting on with it. And, so sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. But I like to think, that naturally speaking, we veer towards happiness. Well, I like to think, but not only do I like to think, I like to know. I know that. I know that. But you have to give yourself certain conditions. And the conditions that you give yourself are the ones that we're going to do in a second. I've talked a lot here, but really what I'm aiming for is, to do a little bit of meditation, because that is giving your mind the conditions to enjoy a bit of peace. And it's a provable thing. If you've meditated before, I think most of you have with me. I always say, look, if you feel a little bit more peace now than you did when you started, then that is sort of showing you that your mind is tending towards peacefulness. That underneath the noise, underneath the anxiety, underneath the PTSD, underneath the OCD, underneath whatever you got, there's a little bit of peace trying to get out. And if you can taste a little bit of peace, hopefully you can see that could lead to more peace. The more that you meditate, or the better you get at it, or that if you do a little bit of meditation every day. And you might think, okay, well, that's all very well, I managed to meditate for 10 minutes or 15 minutes in the morning, and out of that time I've maybe experienced 30 seconds of somewhat peace. But that 30 seconds of somewhat peace is like a flag waving, going, look at me, this is what could be, this is the reality. And also that 30 seconds it's like a concentrated shot. It's like an espresso shot of peace that can actually affect your whole day. That's the way I've found meditation from time to time. Okay, we're going to do some. I'm going to take another sip of my alcohol-free beer from Heineken. Jess asks, do you ever have a tough time balancing ambition with learning to be content? That's such a great question, Jess. Was thinking that this morning when I was on the beach. I'm a little bit mad with the ambition. Sometimes I listened to a whole documentary series about Beethoven recently, and he was a bit mad. And I'm not comparing myself with Beethoven, but I do have an affliction like Beethoven in that I have music pishing out my ears. I have music coming up from inside, and sometimes it's bothersome. And because the band aren't making a record this year, I don't have anywhere to put it. And when I can't just, I'm not good at just leaving music lying around. I'm not good at just leaving songs on a shelf. I need to get them made. So it's not really an ambition as such. Although I am kind of ambitious for people to hear the music that you produce, that one produces. So there you go. Thank you. I was going to say maybe I'll leave that question, for another time. That's quite a personal thing, but I, both hands up. I do sometimes, because I was going to meditate on the shore this morning. I thought I'm going to go there because, I'm going to catch up in my meditation time, and I ended up thinking about music and making a plan and getting it, somewhat agitated and somewhat punchy. But hey, that's why you're here, because this is our special time. I'm going to stop talking about myself. I'm going to stop talking in a minute, because thank you so much for coming to meditate, for being in this session. It's going to help me focus as well. It's going to make this meditation more meaningful because we're meditating together. So let's oops, I'm going to cross my legs, get comfy, that's nice. So if you go ahead and get in a comfortable place for meditation. I've got the window wide open today, so you might get a little bit of ambience, but it's mostly just birds, Glasgow birds sing for the joy. And if you have a straight back or straightish back, that can be quite good to just give yourself a little bit of alertness, but at the same time you can be relaxed. Okay, my friend, so start to bring your thoughts inward. Your head might still be buzzing from whatever it is you've been doing today. You might be anticipating what you're doing this evening or tomorrow. But let's try to honor this time that we've given ourselves, especially this next 10 or 15 minutes. Going to put the worldly things aside, and we're going to attend to our inner wisdom. So I want you just for the next minute to sit with your thoughts. Try to stand back from them. Your feelings, let your feelings come and go, but just stand back from them and observe. And you might notice they start to settle down a bit, get a bit less frantic. And you can say to yourself, this is what my teacher says to me, you can say to yourself, now I'm here. Now I'm here. And there's an acceptance in saying that. I'm accepting my circumstance, my life, my body. We've made it to this point. Now I'm here. It's for the next minute or so. Now I'm here. So I'd like next to embrace the brightness of the Glasgow day. It doesn't matter where you are. It might already be dark where you are, or it might just be the early morning. But I'd like to imagine again, like we did last week, that your body is full of light. So I want you to get a 3D picture of your body in your mind, and imagine that your skin is tissue thin and that your body is filled with light. So we're going to focus on your body of light for the next few minutes. You might want to even imagine that your skin is dissolving, and that underneath it just remains the light. In fact, your whole body is dissolved into light. So you can actually feel lightweight, feel disembodied. So keep focusing on your body of light. And if you haven't done it already, then you might want to imagine that the light that is in you, or the light that's falling on you, has the nature of positivity. So it's a very positive aspect. Imagine this light flowing in you, flowing through you, with the nature of positivity. You might want to go one step further, that the nature of the light is the nature of your higher wisdom, if that's a wisdom that comes from within you, or even a higher power, whatever works best for you. You can imagine that the light is a distillation of your higher wisdom or a higher power. It's for the last few minutes. Okay, folks, and in your own time, you can dedicate our efforts to our health and our well-being, the health and the happiness of our families, our friends, people we work with, and extend those wishes and blessings to the whole planet, to all living things. And in your own time, if you'd like to arise from meditation, okay. Yeah, I thought we would just we could do that one again. We were studying the clear light, the body of light meditation this week, so it was kind of fresh in my mind, and I sometimes find that one. I must admit, I find it quite difficult to have a clear picture of your body full of light. I think it's quite hard to get hold of and to keep like a constant thing, because that's, after all, you're imagining quite a strange phenomenon. It's not just resting your mind on the point of the breath, but I think it can be quite a powerful thing, especially if you get this notion, if you get this feeling that the light is a very positive thing. And of course, at the very least, even if you're not imagining a supernatural power or this the nature of positivity, even if you don't kind of really go for that, in the practice of the meditation, the fact that you are stilling your mind and making your mind a more peaceful place, there's no doubt that you're going to increase your essence of positivity, even a little bit. That's that's breaking it right down to just the practical, the sort of nub of it. But that was nice, though. It was a nice meditation. It's nice to meditate with you. Um, Let me just see. I've sort of gone back to front today because um, I went off on a tangent before, and I did, as usual, I did have some stuff that I wanted to talk to you about, but um, I feel like it's a little bit half baked because I've been reading a book. Well, I'm always listening to some self help book, or some book about mind body improvement, anxiety, depression. Um, I'm staying on the cutting edge, folk. I'm looking for I'm looking for happiness in a roundabout way. I'm doing it. I guess what I'm trying to do is to make make my mind, make my heart as ready for happiness as it can possibly be, um, by looking into these methods. I think more and more, um, I've had a bad episode with depression in specifically the last 3 years, and but I'm getting more and more confident as time goes on that I have some agency over the depression, that it's not just a mysterious blanket that will come down whenever it wants to and stays. Um, I start to feel like I might have more of a handle on it, and when you get a bit of a handle on something as shifty as that, it can be, it can be quite a powerful thing, just to be able to say that, okay, I'm feeling rotten just now, I'm feeling down just now, I'm feeling anxious just now, nervous, I'm really worried just now, but this will pass. It passed before, and it will pass again, and it might come back again, but I know that I can get through this particular. I can get through this particular patch, and I can get to a better place, and I will get there. And I think it's a very strong thing to be able to say, and I hope, I don't know where you're at. Um, I hope I don't talk too much about depression, anxiety, and stuff, because some people are just here to meditate. But I think it's in, I think this stuff is always in the ballpark. We're always thinking about happiness, and the fact that you're here, means that you have an awareness of, you have an awareness. I'm sure you're full of the dark and full of the light, and a keen mixture of both. I think the best people are, and we're the best people. So, but we have this awareness, and that's a great starting place. The fact that you're here right now, and we're talking about this stuff, even though it's me that's doing most of the talking. You might be struggling, but you are aware, and it's a great starting point, and it might be even more than a starting point. You might have this awareness, like what I was talking about, that okay, you go through a bad patch, but it's going to get better. And then not only that, you start to have a kind of a bit of a backstop. I know that's a term that came up during, the recent troubles in, well, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and when Trump came in and all that sort of stuff. There was talk about needing an American backstop. Well, we don't need an American backstop. We need a psychological backstop, meaning that you have a confidence that, okay, I was in that place before. I don't need to go back. I'm not going to go back. I don't need to go back. Don't have to go back. It's very unlikely I'm going to go back. I'm going to keep forward. I'm going to take what comes to me. I'm going to deal what comes to me. But there's no reason that with this awareness, with this agency, with where you are at just now, that you have to slip back, that you have to go through what you went through before. Of course, life throws up new challenges all the time, but the great thing, or the good thing, let's say, about this awareness and about this somewhat position of wisdom that we find ourselves in just now, is that we can deal better with what comes up now because we've been through it before. So, and there's no other way to get that wisdom. I mean, some people are born with it. There's a karma thing where you just, some people are just amazing. Shit happens and they're just like chill. They're just the chill ones, and we all love these people. But we're not it. I'm not it. We got to do it the hard way. We got to have shit happen to us and get through it for you to earn your indie stripes. Then you become a sergeant of anxiety, or no, a captain of calmness. That's better. I don't want to be a sergeant of anxiety. I'd rather be a captain of calmness. Okay, let me see where you're at. Yeah, Pip, I'm sorry you're struggling today. Hopefully, today is a low point, and you'll feel a bit better this evening. Sorry I don't really have much more to offer than that, but fingers crossed. We do all go through ups and downs. Okay, well, do you know what? It's just we've just got a few minutes. I started a bit late tonight. I wouldn't actually mind just doing a real very simple continuation of where we're at before. I'll try to think of a new element to introduce. So I think we'll just we'll do another 5 minutes. If you need to go, that's fine, of course, because I started later. So I'll see you guys next week. But if you want to hang about, I'll do another 5 minutes just to finish off. So if you'd like to get back into your position, or just be where you are if you're comfortable. Now I want to assume that most of you are at least somewhat fans of nature and the outdoors, even if it's just your garden or a park. But I want you to imagine that you're in one of your favorite little ducats, a little quiet space, somewhere where you would go to sit or walk or even have a cigarette, whatever you do. Put yourself up against that tree, in that tree, on that bench, on the rock, with your feet in the pool. You might be alone, but you're not lonely. You might be with your family, but maybe they've just, or your friends, but maybe they've just gone off a bit. They've left you to have a few minutes of calm. And so wherever you are connected to nature. And you can't help but notice that nature's everywhere. It's vibrant. Sometimes it can be in your face, sometimes it can be like a balm, relaxing. Nature just does its thing. But the great thing is that you are part of this nature. You are intrinsically part of the park. You are friends with the tree. You are not that far removed from the little crab in the rock pool. You are living on this planet and we are all connected. And nature, on the whole, knows what to do. It lives and lives well. Nature has challenges. Everything in nature has a challenge. But the trees are growing. The crabs are walking sideways. The ladybird that lands on your collar or your hand is just doing the ladybird thing. And we are not that different. For the last minute, just want you to imagine and know that you're part of this nature. And if you can feel that as a positive thing, as if you feel the nature seeping into you, teaching you how to live and be healthy and to not worry so much, but to just be. So hopefully you feel part of nature, or at least you remember that you are part of it. We're doing the same things. You're either photosynthesizing or you're respiring. Take your pick. You can be one or the other. Now, in your own time, if you'd like to open your eyes, and we'll finish today's meditation. Thanks, folks. That was a little bit different to finish, but thank you very much for joining me, and I'll try and get back next week, and I'll try and be on time. Sorry, that is a little bit ridiculous, setting up an online class for 5 o'clock and then starting late. Yeah, I'll really try and get there on time next week. So, see you folks. Have a great week. All the best for now. Bye.